Please welcome Disha from Kent, England, with her project Assero.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Disha from the University of Kent, and today I would like to present to you Assero. In other words, to protect. India is a country of 1.2 billion people. 1 in every 5 individuals lived in poverty in the year 2013. Financial services to cater to the needs of these people do exist in the form of microfinance, wherein loans are provided to the poor to help uplift them from poverty using enterprise as a means. However, problems do exist. But first, what is microfinance? Microfinance is a financial service for those who lack access to banking and its related services. It is the process of extending small loans to those who lack collateral, steady employment, and verifiable credit history. The average size of a loan varies between $150 to $250 with an average interest rate of 25%. Organizations that offer this kind of finance are often referred to as microfinance institutions or MFIs. A typical MFI transaction would look like this. An agent leaves the microfinance institution and goes out onto the field to carry out a transaction. He then uses a register or a biometric point of sale, which is not secure, to carry out a transaction. He then returns to the microfinance institution to input the transaction history and the details into the MFI server or the accounting software that is used by the MFI. Most often, the problems associated with the microfinance industry involves a lack of transparency, but most importantly, an absence of secure transactions. This most often occurs as agents are able to manipulate the system and make it work in their favor. The exploitation of the poor and needy is often a result of the agent's exploitation. This results in the lack of understanding of repayment terms due to the financial illiteracy of customers, and furthermore results in the risk of non-repayment. Assero wishes to provide a solution to these problems by providing a secure biometric mobile point of sale, which enables real-time authentication but also acts as a strong monitoring system. It is easy to implement as a plug-and-play solution, thereby being easy to implement with MFIs. The integration of Assero with MFIs would look something like this. The agent first informs the MFI of his whereabouts using his biometrics, who then generates a unique user ID and informs Assero of the agent's whereabouts. Using the unique user ID, Assero requests the agent to capture the customer's biometrics. That's the end customer's biometrics. This is just a screenshot of how the demo application looks on my laptop, since that's the only prototype that I have with me right now. And following this, the biometric is captured and sent to the agent's handset, which is then sent to Assero. Assero then verifies this biometric and generates yet another unique user ID to identify the person with the MFI. This is where the validation is successful within Assero, and once it's successful, it's sent to the MFI server. The MFI then retrieves the transaction history of the customer from earlier times, and the agent carries out the transaction and reports back to the MFI, saying that the transaction is now complete. The main benefits from Assero's services would be to minimize or reduce the losses that prevail today. Today, or in 2013, up to 19% of the total MFI lending was lost to fraudulent activities and insecure systems. Secondary benefits include the direct transmission of field data, thereby minimizing manpower, operational costs, and scope for human error. Last but not the least, it also acts as a strong or a powerful agent performance monitoring tool. Where is the value created for the customer and for Assero? The value created for the customer would be the savings of the 19% of the $750 million that is lost today, And for Assero, Assero wishes to generate its revenue through setup costs and an annuity model which has a cumulative effect over time. I would like to create and manufacture Assero services by outsourcing a biometric hardware and a mobile phone while developing the application and the backend in-house. The potential partner profiles also include Finacle, which is a core banking solution provider, and Tally Solutions, which is an accounting software provider and is largely used by MFIs in India. The target market size in India today is $52 million. Since the total MFI lendings is $3.9 billion, and with a total of 60,721 agents, and the total revenue per agent being $600, and using the one-time setup cost, the total addressable market opportunity size would be 52 million. However, Assero wishes to address only 10% of this, which is $5.2 million. There are competitors in this field, and a few of them are service providers such as Ingenico and VisionTech. Assero scores in competitive advantage in three main aspects, that is identity module, anonymous operation, and the anti-SIM swap. While Assero's competitors verify the customer or the end customer, Assero does so for the agent and for the customer, creating transparency within the system. It also acts as an anonymous operation provider, as apart from the biometric and the unique user ID, no information or details of the customer or the MFI is stored within Assero. And the anti-SIM swap, though used by a lot of the competitors as an advantage, is not applicable to Assero, simply because agents can't swap SIM cards and carry out fraud transactions without informing the server about his whereabouts. The market capture strategy that I would like to use is to first run proof of concept installations with MFIs and MFI investors and offer the creation of biometric databases which could be used in the future for authentication purposes. In order to help Assero future-proof, I would also like to forge channel partnerships with large system integrator companies in year 2 onwards. We would also like to invest in research and development, and a potential secondary product would be the development of a similar product in the microinsurance company. With the growth of microfinance in India, microinsurance has seen a large growth over the years. So Assero would like to intervene and offer lower premiums to its customers while minimizing the default rates and the payouts made by the insurance companies themselves. The financials would look something like this. The revenue would increase over time despite the entrance of new competitors due to the development of the primary and the secondary products over time. As a result of this, the net profit too sees an upward graph. The cost, though experience economies of scale, would increase over time, mainly due to operational costs, and as Assero grows, so would other costs. I would like to raise $60,000, mainly to protect Assero's IP, because that is what Assero depends on, and also to invest in biometric hardware and the development of mobile applications and hosting, amongst other things. With every business, risks and liabilities are often a large part of it. Assero wishes to minimize its risk by using its anonymous nature to its advantage. So while only biometrics and unique user IDs are stored within Assero, in case of a hack or a breach, the loss of data is not critical to Assero. I would like to protect its IP by exploring patentability in the UK, US, and India, and also by using trademarks, confidentiality agreements, and copyrights where applicable. The main custodians of Assero's IP would be Assero's team. Using the IP, creativity, and innovation, Assero would like to move forward to cater to the needs of its clients over time. The exit strategy that we would like to adopt would be to develop primary and secondary products, mainly to help Assero grow in value, but also look at initiating the potential acquisition by a large system integrator company over time. This is the timetable of where I would like to see Assero a few years from now. Though very ambitious, it is just a way to kind of see where we want to go with it. That's it. Thank you.
re-explain the fraud problem that happens now and address specifically why you need to collect the biometric information.
So a lot of money in the microfinance industry is lost through fraudulent activities wherein it's very easy to manipulate and bribe an agent to carry out a transaction which is not authorized by the MFI otherwise. So that is mainly where the fraud aspect kicks in. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
So why are you capturing the biometric information?
So the biometric is mainly to capture the customer and the agent's identity and to verify that he is who he says he is, and he is at the given location at any given point in time. Because now what's happening in the current system is the agent turns around and says that I didn't know I was supposed to do this. I didn't know I was supposed to not carry out this transaction because I didn't have the previous history of the transaction. So this is kind of to create accountability for the agent.
All right, so with your proof of concept, how will you know when you're successful? What kind of metrics are you using, either relative to competition or in the absolute?
I'm not really comparing myself to the competition while carrying out the proof of concept installations. Though I would like to approach a few MFIs, I would mainly like to approach banks in order to check whether the solution is foolproof. If not, then I would like to test it and retest it so I could plug the holes before taking it to the market.
How many transactions currently are undertaken per week, month, year?
I'm not aware of the exact number because...
Order of magnitude.
Sorry?
Order of magnitude.
It's quite massive because there's 60,000 MFI agents, so quite large.
Have you thought about using the iPhone and its built-in biometric screening?
I have been asked that question before. I wouldn't like to use the iPhone biometric system simply because I would have to develop an application independent of it, because not every agent or MFI would have an iPhone. So it could be used maybe in the future, but if I'm developing an application, I might as well use it across so that there's uniformity.
Could you maybe kind of describe, I'm still having a hard time understanding the fraudulent activity and who gets the money or where it goes or kind of the problem?
So because microfinance institutions and their agents deal with money, with cash, it's very easy to pocket some of the money and say that I gave it to the customer. So what Assero wishes to do is, it wishes to take notes of the agent's whereabouts to ensure that the money reaches the end person. So the end customer is also verified, just to make sure that the agent can't say that he carried out a transaction without actually carrying it out.
So is that typically for poor people who are doing some manual labor and waiting to get paid by some larger company that has to go through an agent, and then so they give the money to the agent to give the money to the worker? Is that typical of a transaction?
It is typical simply because a lot of the rural parts of India are very inaccessible to a lot of MFIs. So they often hire agents who are closer to the area so that the operational costs are automatically minimized. So the agent needs to go out onto the field to where the rural people are or the poor people are to carry out a transaction.
I see. Okay, so, and those people don't have any banks or banking
Not
or
at the
anything
moment.
like that? Okay, so now I understand
Okay.
a little bit better here. Just some questions from the audience. Okay, real-time mobile biometric requires a readily available, stable internet connection. How available is this in India?
So because we're using a mobile phone, a smartphone, we will be using the mobile internet to connect to the server. However, if a person were to go into an area where there wasn't mobile connectivity and there was no internet essentially, then there is an offline mode that is available, which retrieves the data, but still can't be manipulated by the agent at any point in time.
So the data is collected, but then when they move to a separate when they do move to a place where there is an internet connection, then it's uploaded?
Yes.
Okay, I see. How do you handle money laundering issues?
That's what I'm trying to put a check on. So that's what Assero wishes to do.
Okay. So how do you, so do you operate with a fee for each transaction? So how do you earn your money?
Because we don't know the amount of a transaction or the transaction amount, it's impossible to charge a transaction fee because that's mostly based on the percentage of the transaction carried. So what I would like to do is, I would like to charge 1 rupee, that is the equivalent of 2 cents or 1.5 cents in the US, per customer per day. So this doesn't have to necessarily come out of the pocket of the customer. It could just be the MFI paying for each of the customers enrolled with it.
So it could come out of the firm that wants to pay the individual some amount. They're the ones who effectively will be paying the transaction fee?
No, there's no transaction fee because I don't know the amount.
Okay.
So the way I would charge them would be through setup cost, but also through the 1 rupee per day, which is, per day. So cumulatively, it would be 365 rupees per customer per day. So using that, I would like to,
Okay. This may be a question which is more applicable in the United States, but how do you satisfy banking's know your customer regulatory requirements? You're familiar with that? In the U.S., there's a requirement that banks have to know their customer. Is that?
So that's the same way an MFI would register a customer of its. It's a similar registration process for this. So when they register with the MFI itself, the registration involves Assero at the very beginning. So the biometrics are captured at the point of registration.
By tying biometric to someone's money, are you putting the people's personal safety at risk when they're held up by robbers?
I'm not sure how people's safety is related to their biometric impression. I'm not sure what the question implies.
I think I understand what you're saying. Okay, I think.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Thanks.